Hi, welcome to the Mindful Core Strength. So we have a class that you can do this week which is a lot stronger than this, so if you want to up the standard and for longer, then feel free to join the other class. If you want to keep it a little bit more basic with not such a long practice, then feel free to join this one. So strength and flexibility are key to having good functional movement. In normal yoga classes, we get a lot of flexibility, but we still use a lot of strength. But in strength particular classes, we talk about using the core recruitment. And core recruitment is every time you exhale, you squeeze that belly back towards the spine and you engage those abdominal muscles. So if you think about a long breath in, the sharp breath out would bring it back towards the spine. So the belly draws back. And every exhale you take is when you tend to take the movement in strength work. So if you're lengthening a limb out, you will take the length of the limb on the exhale. So that's how we generally work with strength and conditioning. So we're going to be doing a few poses laid on the back. We're doing a few poses in tabletop, a few poses laid on our belly, and a couple of poses of plank where you can drop the knees or not, and a couple of poses standing. So we'll do, first of all, laying on our back. So if you want to come to the floor and reach forward with the feet back with the head to the back of mat, bend the knees and just bring yourself into what we would call a bridge start position. Bring the hands down by the sides of the body. We're just going to lift one knee up, then the other knee, and find that place where our knees are in a 90-degree angle from the hips, and so are our feet to our knees. And I'd like you to think about squeezing that belly back and pushing that lower spine into the mat without lifting the bum away, without arching through that spine, keeping that neutral place. And holding it in this place, hands down by the side of the body. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, draw the belly back and straighten the right leg. Breathe in, bring that right knee back. Breathe out, straighten the left leg. Breathe in, left knee back. Breathe out, straighten the right leg. Breathe in, right knee back. Breathe out, straighten the left leg. All the time keeping that back pushed into the mat. Taking alternate legs, lengthening on the exhale. Shoulders plugged into the floor. Nice, slow, controlled movements. Recruiting that belly back on every exhale. Recruit. Inhale. Recruit. Inhale. Recruit. Inhale. 2 more times on both sides. Recruit. Inhale. Recruit. Keep that lower spine pushing in. Inhale. 1 more each side. Recruit. Inhale. Recruit. Inhale. Bring the knees into the chest. Squeeze them as close to the body as they can go. Now, having taken that bent knee option, we're going to take it into straight legs. So if straight legs doesn't work for you, keep it bent knees still. Push the heels away, toes back to the shins. This time, just place the thumbs just underneath that lower back. The longer the limbs become, the harder the pose is to take the limbs towards the floor. So take a breath in. Check in with that recruitment first. Draw the belly back on the exhale. Breathe in again. As you exhale, lower the right leg. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower the left leg. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower the right leg. Recruit that belly back. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower the left. Remember, you can use this with bent knees again if you wish. Inhale, left. Exhale, lower the right. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower the left. Inhale, lift. Don't let that lower back arch. One more time on each side. Recruit the belly, lower the leg. Inhale, lift that right leg. Exhale, recruit the belly, lower the left for the last time. Inhale, lift. Bring the knees back into the chest. Give those knees a squeeze. Maybe just a rock of the body from side to side. Some circles with the knees on the ceiling in one direction. And then take them in the other direction. Squeeze the knees into the chest. Take a hold of the crease of the knees. Rock up and down that spine just a couple of times. Once to seated, back down. Twice to seated, take one more. And then bring yourself into a seated position. Bums in the center of the mat. Find a balancing point. Bring the hands across the chest. And when you've found the balancing point, just come onto those tiptoes. So we're going to keep it here, straight backs, arms across the chest. We're going to do a rotation of the waist. So I want you to think about bringing your right rib towards your left hip. And the shoulders just come along for the journey. Take a breath in. As you recruit the belly, drawing it back, right rib, left hip. Twist to the left. Breathe in, back to the center. Breathe out, left rib, right hip. Breathe in, back to the center. Same to the other side. Back to the center. Over to the right, left rib, right hip. Back to the center. Two more on both sides. Recruiting on every exhale. Lengthening on the inhale. Recruit again on the exhale. Lengthening on the inhale. One more time, both sides. Back to the center and again to the right. Back to the center. Take a hold of the knees. Give those knees a hug, straighten the back. And then bring that forehead in towards the knees. Stretch the back of the neck up through that thoracic part of the spine. And then bring yourself back to that same place. So finding that balancing point again, coming onto the tiptoes. Take hold of the creases of the knees. And then just on your breath in, lengthen the spine. On your breath out, recruit the belly, raise the right leg. Breathe in again, lift, lengthen. Breathe out, recruit and lift the left leg. Holding it here, internally rotating those thighs, pointing through the toes. Maybe holding on to the knees here if you wish, or letting go of the knees and just holding in that space, using that hip flexor strength to hold the pose. Bring the toes back to the shins and push and stretch through that heel. Point the toes, stretch through the front side of the foot. Bring the toes back, stretch through the heel of the foot. Two more times in both directions. Point, flex, point, flex. Bring the heels to the floor, hug the knees, lengthen through the spine. Bring the chin into the chest, tuck the tailbone under, arch through the lower back, through the thoracic spine, through the neck. And then lift the chest, take it into a little bit of extension, maybe lifting the chin. Then coming around onto your hands and knees, tuck the feet under, bring the hands forward, step the feet back, knees under the hips, heel of the hands under the shoulders. So we're going to take it into a tabletop balance. Left hand stays on the floor. Recruit the belly back. Try and get a neutral spine, so not arching or rounding. Find that neutral space. Reach forward with the right hand, reach back with the left toes, and then raise that left leg up to hip height, holding it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release the right hand, release the left knee. Bring your weight now onto your right hand, draw the belly back, push into the right hand, push the chest away from the floor. Reach the left hand forward without arching the back. Reach the right toes back. Raise that right leg up to hip height, trying not to arch through that lower spine. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release the left hand, release the right knee. Stretch the hands forward, let the chest just sink towards the floor, stretching and extending through that thoracic spine just for a breath. Then come back up onto the hands and knees, heel of the hands under the shoulders. Turn your right foot off the mat, take your left toes towards the back of the mat, turn your shoulders so they're facing the left edge of the floor, left edge of the mat, sorry. Raise that left hand to the ceiling. Raise that left leg up to hip height without those hips dropping back. Keep it in one nice long line all the way from the heel of that left foot. Then reach forward with those left fingertips towards the front of the mat. Energetically push into that right hand. Support that right shoulder. Push into that right knee and the top of the right foot. Squeeze that left bum cheek a little more. Draw that belly back. Holding it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release that left foot down. Left hand to meet the right. Tabletop position. Rock the hips from side to side. And then take that left foot out off the edge of the mat. Roll onto your left side, right toes to the back of the mat. Lift the right hand to the ceiling. Engage and center the body. Push the hips forward, squeeze the bum, draw the belly back. Raise that right leg away from the mat, squeezing this outside hip to raise that right foot up and away from the floor. Then reach that right hand forward, stretching the side of the waist. Try not to hyperextend into that left arm. Support it by giving a little bend into that left elbow. Switch on those biceps and triceps for 5, 4, 3. Push the bum forward. 2, 1. Release that right foot. The right hand back to meet the left. Come back to tabletop position and move those hips from side to side. Then stepping yourself back into a plank position. And then lift those hips up towards the ceiling, squeezing those heels back. So we're going to take it to plank to down dog with a right hand to tap the left leg, and then do exactly the same on the other side. So bring your breath into plank, your breath out back to down dog, weight into the left hand, tap the left leg with the right hand. Back to down dog, back to plank. Lift the hips back to down dog, weight into the right hand, tap the right leg with the left hand. Back to down dog, back to plank. Keep that belly supported. Back to down dog, right hand taps left leg. Back to down dog, back to plank. Back to down dog, left hand taps right leg. Back to down dog, back to plank. Back to down dog, right hand taps left leg, back to down dog, one more time, back to plank, back to down dog, left hand taps right leg, back to down dog, come onto the knees, shake out the wrists, maybe take on a little water before we take ourselves onto our belly. To do a few back bends to strengthen these muscles in the lower to mid back. Think about the shoulder blades always being squeezed together and pushed down towards the hips when we're in this prone position. So making your way onto your belly, either lowering with plank if you want to make it more energetic, or dropping the knees on your way down, hugging those elbows into the ribs. As you release to the floor, untuck the toes. Bring the arms out to cactus arms, elbows in line with the shoulders, hands just above the head height. Push the hips into the mat, recruit the belly back, take a breath in, lift up the head, the chin, the chest, the arms, squeeze the shoulder blades together, send them down towards the hips, maybe raise the feet, holding it here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release everything back down. And just let the right cheek come onto the mat. Just relax for a breath. So taking it again, bring the forehead to the mat. Take a breath in, push the hips into the mat, recruit the belly back as you lift on the exhale, the arms, the head, the chin, the chest, the legs. For 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release the feet, release the hands. This time left cheek onto the mat. And just allow everything to relax to the floor. Let go of anything you're holding on to. Maybe give those hips a little rock from side to side. Making sure you have space in front of you. You can either take it into those cactus arms again, or bring the limbs out longer. Palms come together at the front of the mat, arms long. Toes pushing towards the back of the mat. Push those hip bones into the floor, squeeze the bum, draw the belly back, take a breath in, raise the hands, the head, the feet, the chest, lifting onto that belly, the upper part of the thighs and the lower ribs for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release the feet, release the hands, bring the hands underneath the forehead and just let that head relax onto the top of those hands. Give those hips a little rock from side to side just to neutralize that lower part of the spine. And we're going to now take it into a thoracic extension. So this time the feet stay on the floor, the hips push into the mat. The belly draws back towards the spine, and on the exhale, we lift and raise the hands and the elbows away from the mat. On the inhale, we release back to the floor. The exhale, raise. The inhale, release. Exhale, raise. Inhale, release. Strengthening those thoracic muscles to take ourselves out of that arch in that upper back where we tend to go a lot if you work at desks, if you're on your phone a lot. It helps take that rounding out of the upper back and give us better anatomical stance. So therefore it allows a little more space in the front of the chest and some contraction through the back of the body. One more time. And release the hands down. Bring the hands by the side of the chest, tuck under the toes, bring the chest back towards the thighs. Just take a moment here, stretching out the lower back, either in child's pose with knees apart or embryo pose with knees together. Hands either down by the sides of the body or reaching forward, whatever seems to work for your shoulders right now. And then we're going to take ourselves into a little bit of shoulder strength, which will be dolphin pose. So when you've taken as much stretch through that lower back as you wish to take, come back up onto your hands and knees. Find the space in the middle of the mat. Drop down onto your forearms. So the forearms should be a distance of the length of the forearm apart. So to balance that up, fingertips touching either side of the elbows, then turn the elbows out, turn the hands out, and then bring the hands back together without moving those elbows. Interlace the fingers, pushing the sides of the hands into the mat. Tuck under those toes, push into the feet, lift up the hips, squeeze the heels back. Maybe walk those feet in a little closer. Push into those forearms, squeeze the belly back. Engage between those ribs and hips, get that contraction in the belly. On your breath out, drop the knees to a hover. On your breath in, lift and squeeze the heels back. 4 more times, drop on the exhale to hover. Lift and squeeze the heels back. Keep pushing into those forearms. 3 more times. Drop to hover. Breath in, lift and squeeze the heels back. 2 more times. Drop to hover. Try not to lose that engagement in the shoulders. Push into the forearms. Heels back on the inhale. Exhale 1 more time to hover. Inhale, lift and squeeze those heels back. Drop down onto the knees, then come off the forearms, come onto the hands. Bring yourself back to downward facing dog, lifting the hips, squeezing the heels back. So we're going to do that same knee drop again, hover. And on the 5th one, we're going to hold in that hover position. So hands shoulder width apart. Create that space between the shoulders and the ears, feet hip width apart in your downward facing dog. Take an inhale in. As you exhale, drop the knees to hover, push into the feet, push into the hands. Breathe in, lift and lower the heels. Breathe out and hover. Breathe in and lift, drop the heels. Breathe out and hover. Breathe in and lift, drop the heels. Breathe out and hover. Last time, lift, drop the heels on the inhale. This time when you hover, we'll hold it here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release the knees. Come onto the heels. Bring the hands down by the sides of the body. Foreheads to the mat. Taking a few long, deep, easy breaths here. Relaxing through the shoulders. Maybe rocking the hips a little from side to side. Then making your way back up onto your knees. Stepping through with your right foot. Tucking your back toes under, lifting up your back knee, keeping your right knee bent, your left leg straight. Bring the hands onto the tops of the thighs. Keep that body in that 45-degree angle. Think about tethering those ribs and hips, drawing that belly back. Then reach the arms out to the side. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Keep that 45-degree angle. Keep pushing into that right foot, pushing back with that left heel, tucking that tailbone under slightly, lengthening and elongating through the spine without flaring those ribs. Holding it for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release the hands down. Drop that left knee. Bring your right knee back to meet the left. Step your left foot through. Tuck the back toes under. Lift up the back knee. Keep the left knee bent, right leg straight. Bring the hands then onto the top of the left thigh. Keep the body in that 45-degree angle. Rib and hip tether, recruitment of the belly. And then as you breathe out, bring the arms out to a T shape. Hold it in that hovering 45-degree angle, knowing you're connecting the center of the body for strength. For 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release the hands down. Bring the back knee to the floor, left knee to meet the right. Rock the hips from side to side. And then bringing yourself down onto forearms, stepping both feet back, plank position, to take forearm plank, holding it in the center for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring the right hand in, roll onto your right side. Either stack the feet Lift the left hand for 5, 4, push the hips forward, 3, 2, 1. Bring that left arm back down, turn the right palm back out, left hand in, roll onto your left side, side plank, right arm lifted, left arm for support, push the hips forward, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring that right forearm down, center forearm plank for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Drop the knees. Bring the sit bones back towards the heels, either reaching forward with the arms or back with the fingertips. Just for a couple of breaths. Then make your way back onto your seat. Bring your feet forward, bums into the center of the mat, to take a spinal rotation to help strengthen through this waist. So lifting the arms up towards the ceiling without using any external help. Bring your left hand forward, your right hand back. Try and keep both feet level as you twist from the waist towards the right side of the room. If both feet are level, the pelvis hasn't moved. If your right foot is drawing back, try and send it back to meet the left and rotate the waist a little more, using the oblique muscles to make that twist. Come back to the center, arms back up to the middle, and then reaching your right hand forward, your left hand back, rotate to the left. Again, if your left foot's drawing back, send it back to meet the right. Use the strength of the waist to twist the shoulders to the left side of the room. One more breath here. Bring the hands back to the center. Bring the hands down by the sides of the body. Bring the bums forward. Bring the shoulders down to the mat. Bring your right ankle onto the top of your left knee. Turn your right knee out, right toes back to the shins. Hands come down by the sides of the body. Push that lower spine into the mat. Recruit that belly. Lift the left foot away from the floor. Pushing that left knee into that right ankle, but trying to resist with that right foot into that left knee. So we're using hip flexor strength. We're not pulling with the arms. Nothing external is being used except for your own muscle strength. Keep turning that right knee out to the side. Keep squeezing that left knee in, but resisting with that right foot. And then push that left heel up towards the ceiling, getting a stretch through the back, chain of muscles, contraction through the quads. Squeeze that leg in a little more, push those shoulder blades into the mat a little further for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release that left foot down, right foot to meet the left. Arms out to a T shape, just windscreen wipe the knees from side to side a couple of times, just to neutralize where that body's just been. Then bring the knees back to the center, left ankle onto the top of the right thigh this time. Turn the left knee out, left toes back to the shins. Bring the hands down, back by the sides of the body. Lift the right leg away from the floor. Left knee's turned out. Right knee's pushing into the outside edge of the left ankle, and we're trying to resist with that left foot as we push it back into that right knee, using some hip flexor strength to try and push into that left foot. Externally rotating the hips, so getting a little stretch on the outside of this thigh, and then straightening up through that right leg, so we're having to engage the thigh muscle on the front to lengthen the thigh muscle on the back, the hamstring. Keep those bums down, shoulders down, space at the front of the chest. Holding it for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release that right foot back to the mat. Bring the knees into the chest. Just give those knees a squeeze. Maybe a little rock from side to side. And then I'd like you to think about drawing those knees to the outside of the ribs and in towards those armpits. Turn the toes back to the shins. Bring the and then push those hands as though you're pushing the heels of the hands into the ceiling. Find that energetic pull of those thighs back in towards the outside of the ribs and feel that energetic push of those hands to the ceiling. Squeezing those hip flexors, squeezing those thighs in towards those armpits, in towards those ribs, in a form of crow pose in supine. Try and squeeze those knees in a little closer. Push those hands out a little further. One more breath here. Then bring those knees back in towards the chest. Give those knees a little hug. Maybe a rock of the body from side to side. Massaging that spine. Maybe taking some circles with the knees on the ceiling in one direction. And then take them to the other direction. Bring the hands down into the creases of the knees. Rock up and down a few times. Up to seated once and back down. Up to seated twice, back down. And on the third time, bring yourself to seated. Bum into the centre of the mat. Elbows to the inside of the knees, taking a hold of the big toes. Bringing those feet in towards the bum. So we're going to do a little bit of stretch work on the back of those thighs, but strength work on the front. And we're trying to hold that balance of the body in the middle. So find that balancing point between the sit bones and the lower spine, and then just lift those heels away from the floor, squeezing those knees in towards the body. So you can either stay here in balance, pushing the chest forward, or if you're coming with me, straighten out with one leg, hold it there. If you want to take a straighten out of the other leg and hold it in this balancing position, lifting the chest, squeezing the kneecaps up high, lifting through those upper thighs, lengthening through the back chain of the legs, pushing those ribs forward, belly's drawn back, finding that balance between the sit bones and that lower spine, chest lifted, engaging through those muscles in the back, the erector spina muscles, the QL muscles, that core center engagement as well, thinking about the rib and hip tether, trying not to flare the ribs, hold it just for one more breath. Then release those heels just to a hover and then release them to the floor. Bring the knees in, lengthen the spine, lift up the chest. Bring the forehead into the knees, stretch through the back of the body. Push that chest cavity in towards those shoulder blades. Hold it for a breath. And then lift the chest. Push the chest forward, squeeze the shoulder blades down to the hips. Lift the gaze. Release the knees. Bring the feet out in front of you. Give those legs a paddle. Bring the fingertips behind you, fingertips pointing in or out to the side. Take a bend into both knees. Feet hip width apart, knees hip width apart. Retract the shoulder blades back. Open some space in that chest. Push into the feet, lift up the hips to reverse tabletop. Squeezing that bum as much as you can to lift those hips up as high as possible. The gaze can be up to the ceiling or just in front of you, feeling that extension of the shoulders, the contraction of the glutes to lift the hips higher, the contraction of the erector spinal muscles to keep that back nice and straight, core engagement in the center, try not to flare those ribs. One more breath here, and then slowly with control, release that bum back to the floor, straighten the legs, give those hands a little shake, a little paddle through those legs. Remove the flesh from under the sit bones, toes back to the shins. Place the hands down by the side of the body. We're going to activate the legs. Keep the spine nice and tall so that spine isn't rolling in that lower part. Push the heels forward, toes back. Switch on the thigh muscles to raise those heels away from the mat. The whole front chain has got to activate here to lift those feet away. The erector spinal muscles have got to contract to lift and lengthen up through that spine. Shoulder blades squeezing together. Again, space down the front side of the body, space down the back of the legs. Squeeze those thighs a little tighter, lift those heels a little further. Shoulder blades squeezing in a little closer. One more breath here. And then release out of that contraction. Arms forward, shoulders relaxed. With lots of control, take it as slow as you can to roll down to that space where you want to collapse, and just see whether you can hold that space for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release all the way to the mat. Bring the hands out to a T shape. Take a bend into both knees. Let the knees drop over to the left side, gaze to the right. Try and allow that tailbone to push towards that front edge of the mat. Feel the stretch down the waist, those oblique muscles. We've been working hard. All those abdominal muscles, those glutes, hamstrings. Bring the knees back into the center. Take the knees over then to the right side, the gaze over to the left. And take a gaze towards that left hand, left shoulder plugged into the mat. Knees back to the center. We have one more muscle engagement before we end. Bring the feet, so the knees are still bent, but a little further away from the bum. Hands down by the sides of the body. Push into the feet, raise the hips just to a straight line. Come on to the heels of the feet, and then feel like you're energetically drawing those feet back towards the bum, keeping the hips lifted for 10, 9, you should be feeling it in the hamstrings, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release that bum gently back to the floor. Let the legs come out long to the ends of the mat. Feet dropping out to the sides. Take a rock of the hips. Maybe a lift of the tailbone. Send it down towards the end of the mat. Relax the shoulders. Turn the palms up. Let the fingers gently curl. Take a long, easy breath in. Long breath out. Just take a moment here in relaxation just to consolidate everything that you've just done. Just finding that space throughout the whole of the body. Knowing you've worked hard through that core engagement. So feel free to stay here for a few more breaths. Pause me now. Or if you're coming with me, bring the knees into the chest. Squeeze those knees nice and tight. Then just rock up and down that spine a few times, energetically up to seated, back down, back to seated, cross the legs. Find your comfortable seated position. Place the hands on top of the thighs, take a roll of the shoulders up to the ears, back down to the hips. Breathe in, bring the hands up to the ceiling, palms come together. Breathe out, bring the hands to the chest, soft gaze to the floor. Have peace in your thoughts, your words, your hearts. From my heart to yours, Namaste. So I hope you've enjoyed that practice of strength work. So if you want to do something a little more challenging than that, the other class this week is a lot stronger and it's definitely a longer practice. I think it's 1 hour and 10 minutes, but this is a good go-to. Strength and condition work is great to do once a week alongside your normal yoga practice. or your normal sports. It will help get you more aware of that core recruitment in the centre. So look forward to seeing you on the mat again. Take care. Have a great week.